Hello everyone and welcome to the CLI ALPMA Innovation and Legal Tech Week 2021 live program. I am absolutely delighted to have the honour of facilitating this session. We're going to take a virtual tour of the Ashurst Global Delivery Centre. I'm really excited about this session because we hear so much about Ashurst and so much about hubs generally, but we don't very often get an opportunity to really take a look and engage with the folks that are working there, and this is our opportunity to do that. So huge thanks to Ashurst for allowing us to kind of peek behind the curtain and have a look at what's going on in the delivery centre. The Ashurst Global Delivery Centre is located in Brisbane. That's a place where all of us live, myself included. So this is especially important because it's home turf for all of us as well. We've been joined by a great group of speakers. I'm going to get them to talk a little bit about themselves and what they do and give you a little bit about their background in just a few minutes. They are all from the Ashurst NewLaw division of Ashurst Advance, so all working in that part of Ashurst. But you can see their names there, but let me just kind of go around and say hi to them first. Hi, Nathan, Shannon, Emilie, Jennifer, and Tae.
Hi, Terri.
Good to see you. Thank you
everybody.
very much. So Nathan, the very first part of this is going to be delivered in your lap, and I was wondering if you might kick off the session with some background about the genesis of the Global Delivery Centre, or the GDC, I think as you folks refer to it. How did it all come about?
Great question, and thanks, Terri, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for registering for this session about the work of our Global Delivery Centre in Brisbane. As Terri said, our Global Delivery Centre, or GDC for short, is located in Brisbane in Ann Street, and it's one of two global delivery centres that Ashurst operates to support our network of offices and clients across the world. Our first Global Delivery Centre was opened in Glasgow in Scotland in 2013, and Brisbane was opened in 2018. The Brisbane GDC was initially accommodated at Riverside Centre on Eagle Street, where our main office is, but we moved shortly after that to 180 Ann, where we've got this lovely modern open plan layout with great tech and workspaces that are conducive to the kind of work that we do there. Each of our global delivery centres operates as a hub for both our business services teams. That's our risk and compliance, HR, IT, etc., and also our new law division, which Terri introduced a short while ago, and which we'll talk about in more detail in due course. Both those teams provide global coverage for the whole of the Ashurst platform, working together so that there's coverage across the whole global network 24 hours a day. But the firm is continuously looking to transform the way that we work and drive greater internal operational efficiencies. And we're also, as many of you will know from the work that you do, constantly challenged by our clients to cost effectively source the services that we provide to them without compromising on quality. And that really is what drives the philosophy behind the concept of our global delivery centres. It's about having the right people with the right skills, doing the right work in the right place. Focusing for a moment on our Ashurst Advance operations, Ann Street is the home of our Brisbane legal analyst team, which supports a broad range of our practice areas with document intensive tasks and some of the managed services that we offer our clients. And we've also got members of our digital services team there, Tae and Emilie, and our eDiscovery team, Shannon and others. Having all of our Ashurst Advance teams located in these global delivery centres has allowed us to take a very structured approach to particular areas of work and build expertise that can then be deployed across multiple work streams to reduce timescales and costs. And meanwhile, the lawyers in our practice groups can focus on the work that requires their specialist legal expertise. An aspect of our global delivery centres that I'm really enthusiastic about is the range of new and different careers and opportunities that we've created particularly for law graduates in the new law space. The firm already has great relationships with the universities in both Brisbane and Glasgow, and we're always looking to deepen those connections. We're very pleased to be able to contribute to the development of the next generation of legal professionals and make the local universities very much part of the new law ecosystem. The physical working environment at Ann Street, together with the more sort of diverse range of roles and skills that you might normally expect to see in a law firm, make it a really unique place to work. It is in every way an Ashurst office, but with a twist, and we're really proud of what we've created there. So look, there's lots more that I could say, but perhaps people are wondering what the Global Delivery Centre at Ann Street actually looks like and who works there. And so we thought the best way to do this would be to provide everybody with a virtual tour. So we've put together a short video for you to take a look at. Hopefully, everyone, this will work, but we recognise that some of these multimedia handoffs can be a bit temperamental. So we will share a link at the end of the session in case you experience any issues and you'd like to watch it in your own time. So I will hand over to Lucy.
My name's Tae Royle. I'm the head of digital products, part of the Ashurst Advance digital team. Our role is to support and lead the transformation of Ashurst for the digital era. But we're part of a much bigger team. We work alongside our IT team, our finance team, compliance, and most importantly, our people team. And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to some of the team in our Global Delivery Centre. Our Global Delivery Centre is our engine room. It's where it all happens. It's where we do our research and development, our operations, and all the good things that help keep our firm running smoothly. We are doing things differently than they've been done before, and this includes new ways of working and completely new roles that didn't exist 2 years ago.
One of the most exciting developments in building Ann Street has been to watch the explosion of legal careers in our industry. Here, 5 years ago, so many of the roles that are occupied today wouldn't have existed. And Ashurst has been at the forefront of this change, creating our own unique roles and alternative legal careers. Our legal analysts, for example, arrive as high caliber law grads, and with extensive training and support, they support almost every practice across the firm. This is interesting and meaningful legal work that does not need to be delivered by a qualified lawyer. Through our Pathways programs, legal analysts then have the opportunity to work across all the disciplines of Ashurst Advance, from legal project management to process improvement and eDiscovery, all the while increasing their exposure to legal tools, techs, and some of the world's leading legal minds. Team members can take on management opportunities and ultimately progress to partnership, which I think demonstrates the firm's investment in new law and commitment to maturing the model.
The growth of the legal analyst team has been really quite astounding. We now have over 60 legal analysts across Brisbane and Glasgow who support all practice groups globally by undertaking tasks such as due diligence exercises, document reviews, contract management and commercial support. Having teams based on both sides of the globe means that we can take advantage of the time difference and work seamlessly with our Glasgow counterparts to flex and scale our teams to ensure client requirements are met. This has meant that we have had the capacity to implement a follow-the-sun model in order to accelerate our delivery to meet tight deadlines. As a team, we're motivated by the firm's investment and support. The goal of alternative resourcing making up 10% of production hours is embedded within our 2023 strategic plan. This will encourage significant growth, not just for the legal analyst team, but for Ashurst Advance as a whole, placing us at the forefront of significant change and disruption in the legal market.
An exciting element of our role is that we get to work closely with the digital services team. Technology has become an integral part of the way in which we conduct and deliver certain pieces of work.
We recently trained our AI-powered contract analysis tool to review 25 data points across over 6,000 documents within 72 hours. This would traditionally take 16 lawyers to complete within that timeframe. Instead, this was conducted by a team of 3 legal analysts and a legal technologist, and it resulted in a 65% time saving and significant cost saving for our client.
I truly believe it would be hard to find a more experienced team in Australia. My colleague Phil literally wrote the book on continuous active learning. We use AI in our tools to help us find responsive documents in a much faster and efficient manner, giving our team more time to prepare their submissions and to help mitigate against any surprises. More importantly, using CAL benefits our clients by keeping costs down compared to a linear document review.
We're really proud of our Global Delivery Centre. It's a living embodiment of our ambition to be the most progressive global law firm. We're really serious about quality. We can deliver this through process design, systematization, and automation. Our Global Delivery Centre operates as a living laboratory. We can test out the latest technology in a safe environment. As one recent example, we're working on artificial intelligence to automatically review and mark up simple contracts. But most importantly for us is the collaboration. It's critical. We've got all the key people in a single location and open plan. There's a great team spirit here and everyone's working towards a common cause. I have to say it's the best place I've ever worked in my career.
Fantastic. I didn't see the video as clearly as I would have liked to. So I think, Nathan, that link is going to be really helpful for folks to be able to see it at the end. And we will absolutely make sure that we post that, obviously, with the recording of this. But, you know, these things happen. This is why we're having an innovation and legal tech event, after all. So I wanted to kind of draw from some of the threads from some of the video that we've just watched and ask all of you, really, you know, what attracted you to work at the GDC? And I'm going to, if I may, start with you, Nathan, with that question.
Sure. Well, I'll start by saying, Terri, that in the interest of full disclosure, I am not based full-time in the GDC. I'm actually based in our Sydney office, but I was involved in establishing the legal analyst team there in 2018. And COVID aside, I am a very regular visitor to Ann Street. I started my career as a commercial disputes lawyer, and before our Glasgow office was set up in 2013, I was sort of dabbling in alternative delivery methods, mostly using offshore alternative legal services providers. At the time, which was probably the early 2010s, there was really no one else doing this in the firm. And so when Glasgow was opened in 2013, my focus sort of naturally pivoted there. And over the years, I worked very closely with Mike Polson, who opened and still leads the Glasgow office and is the head of Ashurst Advance Delivery. And for numerous reasons, in late 2017, the planets aligned and an opportunity came up to make the leap into Ashurst Advance. And I jumped at the chance because I could see the potential that this part of the business had and the importance that it would have to our operating model going forward. So many of the people here in the team in Glasgow who I worked with when I was a disputes lawyer are still there now, and some are in very senior leadership roles, and it's great to be working so closely with them as we sort of continue to grow the offering and do things like open a new office in Ann Street.
And it's almost like really, you know, your business is evolving, obviously based on client demand, but you're really evolving with it as well, aren't you? That's right. Yeah, very, very much so. And I mean, one of the things I would say about my roles is that no 2 days are the same. You know, there's lots of different aspects, I think, to what all of us do, and that requires you to develop a very diverse range of skills. And be able to adapt very quickly, both to clients, to practice group demands, and to just generally new things that are happening around you. Yeah, very, very exciting. Tae, why is the GDC the coolest place in the world to work, do you think?
Well, in many ways, it's the opportunity for me to fulfill the crazy ideas and crazy ambitions that I've got to help shape our approach to how we practice law. So my background is as a corporate lawyer, and I practiced corporate law for about 10 or 12 years. But I really became frustrated as to how we did things on a day-to-day basis. I felt that we weren't necessarily learning from what we'd done the previous day, and so I decided to do something about it. And I went off with a bunch of friends and tried to build a document automation product, which was a dismal failure. Did not pan out at all. We simply lacked the depth of technical skill to really deliver on it. So they'd invented this thing called the cloud in the interim, and went out, met with some vendors, spun up a project, and with full credit to the Ashurst board, they backed me. That became a document automation project in about 2013, which gradually grew and evolved into what's Ashurst Advance Digital today. And so in a sense, I didn't choose the GDC, the GDC chose me, and I'm very fortunate for that. But really what it does is it gives us an incredible opportunity to take a step back and think about what do we need in order to really deliver amazing legal services to our clients, and how can we effectively build a free and open playground for our lawyers and give them really great collaborative tools so that they themselves can deliver the best possible legal services. And that's what really excites me and why I love coming to work every day.
And I guess what you were saying, Nathan, as well, in that truly multidisciplinary environment, which brings me to you, Emilie. What kind of attracted you or got you excited about working in the GDC?
So prior to my role at Ashurst, I was working for a startup that used to be called Dragonno and then Zigo in Hong Kong. And I did that for 4 years, and it was an amazing experience. But after 4 years working on document automation, I was really looking for my next challenge, wanted to get more exposure to legal tech. And so I started looking for firms, and I came across Ashurst. And after working 4 years in a startup, I just couldn't see myself working in a closed office, no open space. Like, I needed that same energy in that same environment. And when I did the interview with Tae, he convinced me, and I joined on board, and I haven't been disappointed ever since.
Fantastic. So Shannon, I'm coming to you next, and Jen, I haven't forgotten you. I'm coming to you too. Shannon, how about you? What drew you to the GDC?
So I've had a similar role at another law firm, which I was working straight out of university. I didn't really know anything about eDiscovery. I studied law IT. I thought I wanted to go down to the whole IP law area and become one of those type of lawyers. But when I landed an eDiscovery role in my last year of university, it kind of opened a new world for me. It was a different aspect of law that I haven't heard about at university or even thought about. So I worked there for a few years, and then I transitioned to one of the big four in the consulting arms. So I was working there like digital forensics. So I did a lot of investigations into fraud, misconduct, and cyber attacks. And one thing I noticed both at that previous law firm and the big four is they're very centralized in Sydney and Melbourne, because that's where all the big clients are. But one thing that attracted me to Ashurst was they actually have the GDC in Brisbane, which is obviously where I live. So that was music to my ears, that the actual hub was somewhere I lived. I didn't have to become a servant to another kind of master down in Sydney or Melbourne. So it was the big focus for me, that I actually have people and colleagues and a team local, compared to constantly jumping onto Teams or Skype and trying to be part of a team remotely.
So just fascinating, your backgrounds and where you're coming from and what kind of resonated with you, and just how broad and wide that is within the GDC. So Jen, I'm coming to you with the same question. You're the lucky last with this question. What drew you to the GDC?
So I after finishing my law degree, started at our Glasgow office, in case you can't tell from the accent. So it's good to see as well some people from Glasgow online. So yeah, so I started at Ashurst in Glasgow, and when the team was actually quite small there. So I kind of saw the team grow from maybe about 20 people to now 60 people. And after a few years out of being there as a legal analyst, I was given the opportunity to come out to the Brisbane office in its early stages to train the team here, support the team. And it was just such a fantastic opportunity, I think, as a great challenge personally and professionally, just to work with the new team, like I say, in their early stages, and see the talent that's available in Brisbane, which will obviously help expand and grow the Ashurst Advance offering in the Asia Pacific region. So yeah, it was really, really exciting to come in and see that sort of grow. And already in the 2 years that I've worked with the team here, it's just incredible how much it's grown, and really exciting to see what the future holds.
So Brisbaneites, are we allowed to say to her that she's now in the best place? Well, yeah, we've got some nods.
I would
there,
agree.
so. That's good. That's good. Folks, I know you'll have questions for these folks, so I just want to direct you basically to the Q&A if you want to throw something in there, or by all means keep the chat going and I will pick those questions up for you as well. So I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper with you folks, Jen, Shannon and Emilie, and just kind of understand a little bit more about your role, what you actually do in the GDC. So Jen, let me stay with you for a second and ask you to kind of tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So I think Nathan kind of alluded to this earlier, that no day is really the same, which is really exciting. But in my role, sort of generally, as well as manage the team of legal analysts on a day-to-day basis, I also work really closely with a number of practice groups on different matters. But I do have a particular focus on dispute resolution work, so that's my kind of main area. And over the past year or so, having built strong relationships with partners and lawyers in the practice groups here, I'm able to work really closely with them to help find solutions and support them on projects. That also allows me to work alongside my colleagues in Ashurst Advance, so the eDiscovery teams, the legal project management teams. For example, our teams will be asked to assist on document reviews for discovery, and through the use of assisted learning technology, our experienced reviewers can work in conjunction with eDiscovery and the practice group, and it allows us to provide the most efficient and cost-effective solutions for the client. So we're constantly thinking about that kind of thing and the way that we can provide that service. And within these matters, I also have the chance to work with colleagues in the UK as well. So despite the different time zones, we can have a really smooth transition between the teams, and that's part of my role as well, is to make sure that we are, we've got these processes in place to ensure smooth handovers, that we can really, utilise and leverage the fact that we've got this the service across both sides of the world to make sure we deliver what we need to.
Jen, what I'm hearing there as well, in addition to obviously an amazing skill set that you're bringing, is really that, your work is essentially one of collaboration and working very closely together, and globally, obviously, because of the nature of the centre. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that collaboration is a huge part of my role, and it's and the GDC in general. I think the GDC sort of lives the Ashurst value of collaboration as well, and it's great to really be a huge part in that every day.
Shannon, I'm coming to you now. Tell us a bit more, that the nitty-gritty, if you like, a bit more about your role.
So those who are familiar with the eDiscovery kind of life cycle, I'm there from the beginning, chatting with the partners and our senior associates, trying to work out what the problem is, where the data a client may have. So for example, do they just have laptops? Do they have email on a server? Is it Office 365? Do we have mobile data? So just trying to work out what our data sources are. How do we get that data? Do we need to go out and capture the data? what can we expect would be the hiccups? For example, do we have an executive who can't live without their phone for the day? So we're just trying to deal with that up front, because I then have to move towards the kind of processing side, extracting the data from those laptops, the emails, the Word documents that someone's made, the text messages someone sent, because ultimately our lawyers and Jen's team need to be able to understand what that information is and the implications it has for our clients. So I get it, collect it, I process it, and we put it into a document review platform where we can actually review large volumes of data using traditional kind of keyword searches and even AI-driven CAL, because ultimately we need to produce stuff, whether it be to another party or giving some advice to a client, or even if ASIC or the ACCC come knocking, we need to be able to defend how we got that data, what we did to it, and disclose it in a cost-effective way. So I go from collection, processing to production. I got the full gamut of the eDiscovery kind of cycle.
I think we're just seeing that aspect of data, and I'm sure this is something that all of you could comment on, but just that key aspect of data just keeps coming up over and over and over again in legal practice now, doesn't it?
Definitely. I can expand on it, but I'll let Em kind of talk to that.
I know, I'm coming to her. All right, Em, come on, tell us what you do.
I wasn't in a rush, Shannon. If you wanted to add something, go for it. Okay, so my job I guess Jen, Shannon, and I, we have in common, the whole of Ashurst Advance have in common that our main purpose is to help with the delivery of legal services, but we just do it in slightly different ways. So what I focus on is understanding our external and internal clients' pain points or challenges, whether it's because they're delivering, they're helping with a new matter, or whether it's an existing matter and it's not running as efficiently as they would want it to. And I do that with the use of technology. So it can be things that we have in our toolkit, tools like document automation, e-signing, workflows. It could be sometimes as simple as a mail merge, all sorts of things that I have in my toolkit and that I can pick up and say, okay, well, this might help you with this particular challenge. And so as Jen said, no day is the same because client's challenge will vary depending on the use case. And the great thing about this particular role is that if I see things and if I address things that are, recurring for clients, or if I identify an opportunity for, solving a problem for the public at large, then we do also build our own products at Ashurst Advance. So I kind of have my two hats of delivery and then also building products. So it's really interesting overall.
And that's kind of an exciting thing, isn't it, Em? Because sometimes, or very often, I guess, we think about the products being built outside the law firm by a bunch of external developers and probably not as much inside the law firm. So that's kind of a very interesting aspect to what you're doing as well, right?
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. So I kind of had the opportunity of seeing the other side of it because, like I said before, I was working for a startup, and it has its own challenge when you're building your own product. And the main one for most of the legal tech product out there, it's sometimes the disconnect between the product you're building and what your clients are facing. We don't have that, and clients come to us with all sorts of problems. I guess it's more, do we have enough time and resources to address all of them? So yeah, plenty of ideas, and grateful that we have the right team and the right structure to address them.
Absolutely. Shannon, I think we might have to get you a role with Tourism Queensland now, because there's a bunch of people in chat that are moving to Brisbane as a result of, I think, your conversation. So yay. So I wanted to, if I may, Nathan and Tae, just kind of maybe stand a little bit at the kind of 40,000 metre view and get your take on, how you see the purpose of the GDC with respect to clients, but obviously also with respect to the firm. And Nathan, could I start with you on that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the global delivery centres and the ways of working within them are a demonstration of the firm's commitment to be different, to transform and to be progressive. The opening of Glasgow in 2013 was a really clear marker by the firm, I think, that it intended to look at delivering services differently. And the Brisbane GDC was another step on that journey. Having 2 global delivery centres now, one on each side of the world, as the video alluded to, has facilitated round-the-clock working, but also, I think, just bringing together teams as well across the 2 regions, often at short notice, to respond to client challenges, and being able to operate in that way is definitely a bonus. In relation to clients, some are really keen to come and see us, and everybody is always welcome. They want to see what the GDC looks like and feels like. We're actually hosting a team from a client early next week, which I'm looking forward to, because it was a visit that was supposed to take place earlier in the year and for obvious reasons didn't happen. I think, Terri, I'd also add a third perspective, which is where our global delivery centres have been sort of placed us as an employer of choice and a participant in the wider community. And I mentioned earlier the universities as a source of talent for the sort of roles that we've got. In Glasgow, we've developed a partnership with Stirling University Law School, which is going to involve us delivering part of their undergraduate course, a new law program within that. And we would welcome, opportunities to do the same in Brisbane. And I know for a fact that Tae has very close ties with some of the universities there, particularly in the legal technology field.
So Tae, let me ask you, if I may, the same question, and maybe even follow up a little on that kind of the baton that's been handed to you by Nathan as well, in terms of law students and what they're doing or need to be doing or thinking about now too. But perhaps firstly, what do you see the purpose of the GDC in terms of the firm and the clients?
Yeah, it's a really important question. I know a lot of the time we talk about new law or alternative law or alternative ways of doing things. But I actually think that the purpose of the GDC is to normalize that, and for the work that we do here to just be part of the way we do things around here. And by here, I mean Ashurst as a global firm. If we want to draw a comparison, post-GFC, we spent a lot of time talking about the new normal and talking about the constraints that in-house counsel operate under and the competitive pressures. And that term has dropped out a bit of the conversation, not because the pressures have changed. They're there very much the same. It's just that the new normal is no longer new, and it's just the normal, and it's the way things happen. Likewise, I think the new is, in a few more years, the new is going to drop off new law, and it's just going to be the way we practice law, and we won't talk about alternative resourcing either. Instead, the purpose of this center and this function is to add capability, speed, and agility to matters that just can't be carried out by 2 or 3 or 4 subject matter experts. And so effectively what we do is we bring the muscle and the technological capabilities in order to deliver matters much faster and more effectively than we can in using, just Microsoft Word. But again, I think we're going to get past this idea that it's an alternate way of doing things. Is just the way you do things, where you've got velocity and volume and you need to get right into the issue and solve it.
Yeah, and almost a function of where you locate those services in terms of convenience and fluidity, I guess, as much as anything else. I think I might have a question here that could be a job application, so I'll just kind of touch on it and perhaps ask you, Nathan, if you might like to take it. If you're willing to share, do you employ data scientists, so in the role of data scientists specifically, in your Brisbane and or Glasgow offices?
I might handball that one to Tae, because he no doubt has got some aspirations in this area. I think the answer to that is broadly yes, but Tae or Emilie, I'll leave you to answer that.
Very good. Thanks, Terri. We are in the process of working through the firm's data strategy. It is, as has been picked up in a theme so far throughout this week, it is something that is incredibly important. We recognize in many ways, as we become more sophisticated, the practice of law is going to become, particularly for those larger deals, a more complex deal. In part, it becomes the management of the flow of data. So you pull unstructured data out of your documents, you process it, you flow it through various systems, you create new documents with it, you upload it to systems of record with the client so that they can then consume it going forward. It's a really important part of our practice. We're not quite there yet. Our advisory arm has hired a number of people who have data in their title, and it's something that we are looking to grow more aggressively, particularly as we move into the adjacencies. And again, the wonderful thing about the GDC is because it's flexible, we are supporting not only the legal function, but also our risk advisory services and our consulting services. And that's a really exciting area of growth for us.
Yeah, and I guess to go to your point, Tae, particularly as the lines become blurred in terms of, again, going back to something Jen was saying earlier, that collaborative way of practicing, then, you know, you're looking for folks with a lot of different skill sets in order to be able to deliver the services that you're speaking to. So I'm wondering, Shannon, Emilie, Jen, do you have any thoughts about that and that question in terms of folks that are likely to work in this area more broadly, perhaps in the GDC, but coming to that increasingly not with a law degree or something in addition to a law degree, but they would be doing something different from giving legal advice?
I'll start with that. 100%. Given the nature that this team operates in, you know, having almost engineers or IT orientated people is fantastic. You know, a lot of the tools we use, we can train you up, but it's more the kind of inquisitive mind that a lot of those kind of grads may have, bringing different thinking. Coming from one of the consulting arms, you know, there's a lot of similarities in what we're trying to achieve here. And trying to problem solve. And I think the skill set that a lot of people can bring that aren't traditionally lawyers is fantastic. I would never say no to a CV that is someone who's got an arts IT degree or arts something, because they think outside the box, which is pretty much how we kind of solve problems here. So it's definitely an avenue for people that aren't just lawyers.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Shannon just said. So I think whenever I hear that question at an event, it's usually the answer is usually, oh yeah, they definitely did need like technical background, like data scientists. But just to take a step back from that, I think I'm the living example that I do have a law degree, but it's a French one, so pretty useless here. My background is really customer success. It's around, you know, being a good business analyst, being able to understand clients' requirements, being a good listener. It's about a lot of soft skills. And so definitely when we consider applicants for roles in our team, I'm not going to focus on the law degree. I'm going to focus on what have they done that shows people skills, that shows technical skills. And I think Tae will agree with that.
Yeah, just to add.
Skills, yeah, and then specialist skills on top in a way. Sorry, Tae.
Just to add to that, we've actually had a formal policy change, and we're removing the requirement for a law degree in the legal technology team.
Which really does speak volumes about how much the industry is changing in addition to that, right? Nathan, I wanted to ask you this question, and it's one that someone has posed. do you think the model, what we've been talking about and that you have in the GDC, does it facilitate better and faster decision making?
Yes, I think it does. But I think that there's a lot of work that has to be done in the firm to bring people on the journey with you, to ensure that when they need resources, or they think that there might be a technological answer to a particular challenge that they've got, that they're ready for the solution that you put in front of them. And that's sort of very much part of what I do in terms of my job. Engage with the practice groups to make sure that they're kept up to date with what we're doing. And also that, of course, what we're doing is tracking their own objectives, and that we're remaining as relevant as we can to them. So I think that it does. I think we can, things that used to take a long time, 2 or 3 years ago, we can now, set up in a matter of hours, and have people working on this side of the world or the other. And one of the benefits of the 24/7 model that we've got is that if someone comes to me late in the day and says, look, I've got something that really needs to be done within the next sort of 6 to 8 hours, we know that we've got a huge team sitting in Glasgow who can take that on, and that we've got established processes that mean that we can start that work stream, pretty much from go to woe in a couple of hours, and have people up and running in Glasgow by 9 a.m. their time. Yeah. So it does, but it takes a lot of groundwork, and obviously there are some practice groups, particularly sort of disputes and other practice groups that deal with litigious matters, that have been on this journey for some time through the use of eDiscovery. Due diligence using artificial intelligence has been used for some time now, but there are some practice groups that are not quite so far advanced, because as yet their need for our services has not yet been fully teased out. But I think that one of the things that we've done over the last year that's been really interesting is actually go around all of the practice groups and speak with them about the program of strategic objectives that we've got for the whole firm, and to make sure that there is that open dialogue, so that they know exactly what we're doing and we know exactly what they're doing. But that groundwork's very important.
And I guess creating or being able to exercise that sort of fluidity or dynamic that you spoke to, or agility really, in practicing, is something that hasn't come naturally to law firms, and really is still a bit of a challenge for them, I guess, because we've long been an industry much more comfortable with working in silos than we have in kind of breaking down those sort of barriers. So I guess a question that I would put really to all of you is, how or why have you been successful in doing that? How do you kind of break those barriers down and create the sort of fluidity that really underscores the success of the GDC?
I can go first if you like. I would say that none of this would have been possible or even half as successful if it hadn't been for the support of the sort of highest levels of management within the firm, who've been prepared to challenge the status quo, deal with the non-believers, and really sort of set up the transformation process for success. I think it's a continuous journey, but we have achieved a fundamental shift in how our people think, but I think more importantly how they're empowered to think as well about the delivery of legal services, and I think that's been an enormous contributor to the success of changes to the way that we work at Ashurst.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think as a last resort when dealing with a firm non-believer, if you can persuade their clients that it's a good idea, their clients can generally do a pretty good job of persuading them it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of is a lead into or a segue to the next thing I wanted to chat with you about, and that's innovation. And in a way, what's innovative about your working model. I guess if we looked at pretty much any law firm website at the moment, we would see the word innovation. It's very difficult to say, to do it. It's very easy to say it. So I guess, Jen, I wanted to, if I may, turn to you first with that. What do you think is really innovative about the way that the GDC works?
So yeah, really good question, Terry. Thank you. I think that we kind of touched on it in the video as well. Just like the fact that we have all of the teams sitting here in the GDC really allows us to bring that talent together, to draw on the experience, the abilities, even just the sort of thoughts and ideas of people sort of in real time. And there's some good examples of that. Again, one that was mentioned in the video was a project we worked on last year where we used AI assisted review to accelerate a large scale review. And the need of the client, it was the client needed government approval for an infrastructure project. And as part of the approval process, over 6,000 submissions were submitted to an advisory committee. So obviously accuracy in this review was paramount to ensure the client responded to all the concerns and to mitigate delays and reputational risks. And in order to target that issue and assist our client, what we did was using a sample set of submissions, the digital services team trained the AI-powered contract analysis tool to identify 26 key data points over 3 days. And following on from that part of the process, the legal analyst team was brought in and they conducted the manual review, providing that lower cost resource. But it was just really fantastic to have the two teams sitting here in the GDC to bounce ideas off each other and to support each other through that process. And the result of that. The result of that project and that collaboration between the two teams was that we delivered a 65% time and nearly $70,000 cost saving to our client through using that technology and the lower cost resource. And we also were able to complete the review 3 days ahead of schedule. So I think that's just one of these really fantastic projects that is just a prime example of how we can work together so effectively and come up with that, what I see as sort of real innovation to deliver these solutions to the client.
Yeah, absolutely. And a real market differentiator, obviously, as a result of that as well. Emilie, how about you? How would you, or perhaps an example that you can point to, where you see something really innovative in how the GDC operates or works?
I think it's about the people. And I know whenever, especially because I'm part of a digital services team, right? So whenever someone asks me a question, they expect me to throw technology at their face. But really it's about the people, because you can really make a difference between all the big law firms and the big four now. They almost all have the same tools. So the real difference then is, the expertise of the people behind those tools to set them up, how they collaborate with other people, because technology on its own, it's not going to do anything. Like if I didn't have Jen's team sitting in the office and helping me out with some of the things, this review that she just mentioned, it wouldn't have gone very far. So if you have the people with the right skills that are collaborating together, that is very innovative in itself. And also it's about how you integrate those people and the technology and the different pieces of technology you have together. Because like I said before, the challenges our clients are facing, they're so wide and different. There is never one tool I have in my toolkit that is going to meet all their, needs. So I have to rely on making sure that there is a bit of manual work done when needed, that I implement the right technology where needed. So to give an example of that, we recently helped with the merger for big retail shop. That in itself was a due diligence exercise, followed by the challenge the client was facing was sending out comms to landlords every few days. And I relied on Jen's team to be able to do the review. I trained my AI tool to pick up the clauses, being able to identify the variables, knowing that the comms were going to be sent out. We extracted the right level of information, put everything on the system. The client had access to it. We used that same system to bulk generate thousands of communications that were sent out to the landlords. We maintained the system, again, using Jen's team to make sure that the client always had the latest communications available. And all that in one single product. There was lots of different things we're doing in the background, but the client only saw one nice dashboard that we're telling him we're making good progress. And that was supported by not just me sitting in the silo, but by us working together in the GDC.
We've got a few minutes left, and so I'm going to kind of start posing some wrap-up questions to you, but also obviously reminding folks that this would be a great time to pose any questions that you would like. And Shannon, I want to come to you first with this question. In terms of what we've discussed today, I guess we've talked about technology, we've talked about skill sets, we've talked about how they're combining in a whole bunch of different ways. Some we put the label on innovation. But, at the very core of it, it seems that it's really changing the way that we practice, maybe the way that we even think in terms of practice. So I'm going to ask you to look into a crystal ball for a second and go, probably realistically, we can't go much further forward than 3 years. And the reality is probably a lot less, but to the extent and whatever time period you're comfortable with. How do you think that the practices of law is changing? And I guess in many respects, how the GDC and the work that it is doing is really influencing, if not demonstrating, different ways to practice as well.
I think, speaking from our perspective, where I can see the law going is we're becoming more of a proactive kind of aspect for our clients. Normally when you're a law firm or a lawyer, you're only dealing with a client who's reacting to something that they either, from a criminal aspect, got some charges, or, someone slapped a statement of claim against them in a civil dispute. Whereas I really can see, law firms bolting on more aspects of, risk consulting, risk advisory, what we're doing at data, and kind of actually being a one-stop shop for our clients. So they can come to us, they can get, Em and Tae helping now manipulate their data, trying to work out what they actually have. But at the same time, they can actually get some legal advice. So, for example, information governance is going to be a big thing coming in the next couple of years. Where is your data and what do you actually hold? I've had clients that had servers of credit card data and just sitting there. No, it wasn't secure. We had to kind of tell them this is where a table is containing credit cards. They had no idea. So I think that's going to be something that's going to drive clients coming to us saying, hey, we want you to do some risk analysis or risk assessment for us. So we can have our risk advisory and Em and Tae helping them work out where their data is and what that is. But then we can also say, well, this is the legislation, this is the framework that you need to operate in. If something happens, you need to be able to disclose to the OAIC. Let us get this up and running so you have playbooks ready to go if there's a cyber breach, or if something happens, you know exactly what you need to do. So proactive, I think that's where we're going to be going down.
Proactive. Em, how do you see legal practice changing? You can't have proactive, that's already taken.
Well, what I've seen, especially during COVID, is a lot of our clients were asking for tools to help with collaboration, task management, and just overall trying to digitalize some of the recurring tasks that they're doing, transaction checklist and others. So we've put those things in place for them now. Now, what I hope is going to happen in the next 36 months or so is that they'll actually finally adopt those tools in the long term and not go back to their last way.
The bad old ways.
Yeah, if we've done our job right, hopefully they won't.
And what do you think? What's your prediction for the next 12 months, 3 years, whatever you're comfortable with? legal practice? How's it going to change?
Sorry, was that to me, Terri? Just phrase then.
Sorry, Jen.
Sorry, Jen.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think that you know, on top of what Emilie and Shannon have said, I think for me, what I'm quite excited about is to see the change in how like the law is sort of taught as well from the university stage, and you know what we drew on earlier with partnerships with universities and new law becoming like a real part of that curriculum. I think what we're then going to see over the next few years is not people coming into the workplace, into law firms who are then wanting to learn about new ways of delivering law, but they already come in with these ideas and they're already thinking in that way before they even kind of get in the door. And I think that's going to be a whole new sort of generation basically of people that we're recruiting and having in our teams, which is really exciting. You know, people coming into the industry will already be exposed to the new law concept, and it will no longer be an alternative solution. It will be the only solution basically, and I think that will really help shape that different landscape going forward. And just change that mindset that people have who are maybe still slightly dubious about about how we work here in the GDC.
Jen, can I just ask you a quick follow-up question there?
Sure.
Do you think that there's going to be a gap? In other words, that the law schools won't be able to deliver on curricula as fast as perhaps the industry is changing, and I know that might be kind of expecting the industry to change a lot faster than it typically has. But do you see that we could be in a situation, or do you think that we're probably going to be at a pace where we won't be faced with that?
I think there's always that possibility that there might be the gap, but I think if we take any sort of positive out of how the last year has panned out, it's that because it's becoming sort of more normal to think that way, we've had to come up with these solutions, even if it's not taught from day one. It's just going to be it's just slightly more inherent now that we have to work these ways. So even if there is that slight gap in terms of delivering that as part of the a formal curriculum, it's still going to be at the forefront of people's minds. But I think even having the ability to have sessions like these and to be discussing with people who are thinking sort of these new ways and just make it a real like focus of conversation and an important topic, just keep discussing it. I think that's the best way as well to progress with this.
Absolutely. Nathan, we've had a question here that I'd like to pose, if I may, in the few minutes that we have left. The person has asked, they're curious about how the GDC business model works in terms of client engagements and how much you kind of directly engage in solution development. So the centre directly engages in solution development, I think the question is.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and very topical actually in terms of some internal discussions that we're having at the moment. We are looking more and more to engage directly with our clients, and that is at the moment part of a strategy that we have to increase the amount of or the number of services that we offer by way of managed services directly to clients. It's we already do quite a lot of work in this area. In Glasgow, we do, for instance, we directly deal with the management of some of our clients' trademarks and other IP portfolios. We also do work on a managed service basis for many of our banking clients. But it's something that we're looking to try and do more and more, an area that we're looking to do more and more in. It does come with its challenges, because there are certain regulatory requirements that you have to comply with in order to, obviously, to provide legal services. And so that is yet again another evolution of our model as we look to sort of not only have our legal analyst team and our legal technologists and our legal project managers within Ashurst Advance, but bringing in qualified lawyers to undertake roles and provide clients with end-to-end services in a way that I think, you know, can fit very nicely into or provide very neatly a solution to challenges that a lot of in-house teams have about in relation to a lot of routine work, such as the production of, you know, NDAs and things like that. So yes, we're getting more and more involved in that. It's a really exciting area.
We're almost out of time, but because you start in the video, I'm going to give the last word to you. And just kind of jumping back to predictions, what are the last words of advice that you would, or wisdom that you would like to leave us with on the change in the practice of law in the next year to 3 years?
I think we're going to see a couple of key changes, and as a technologist, they're not actually something that is purely driven by tech. It is definitely going to be in the area of greater collaboration. I just want to come back very quickly to the question you posed, Terri, about whether law schools can keep up. In some ways, I almost think the question's a bit unfair, in that there's, just like we as an organization are starting to draw on people with much broader skills than just strict legal skills, I think there's a real opportunity for tripartite collaborations with universities, not just with the Faculty of Law, but tripartite with the computer science department, for example, and drawing on the entire strength of the university as a whole. Maybe we should be looking at people in economics. There's all sorts of possibilities out there. And directly related to that, I think, is in some ways the law firms, they're not just going to redefine the practice of law, but they're going to move a bit beyond the boundaries of that and really focus on solving the business problems. Because at the end of the day, our clients aren't actually hiring us to provide legal advice. They're hiring us to fix what is ultimately a business problem. And I think that we're becoming progressively better at pivoting and directly addressing those issues squarely.
With the GDC being a fantastic example of that, it'll be fascinating to see where joint degrees go. For example, they've stayed in fairly traditional places, but really starting to expand in what I think will be just an exciting opportunity. Folks, sadly, we do have to bring it all to an end. Very, very grateful of the opportunity to learn about the work that you do and how you do it. And, you know, what your roles are in your centre, and just, you know, how that really is, I'm going to say, if I may, on your behalf, in some respects, reflecting but also redefining the way that we think about legal practice, as we've kind of mentioned towards the end. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to do that. Lucy's very kindly dropped the link to the video in the chat for folks that would like to grab that. And we will obviously also make it available with this recording. So I do hope that you've enjoyed this session as part of the live program. It will be available on video and also on podcast. So you'll be able to listen, watch, or do both if you like, at your leisure. If you'd like to receive updates about the work of CLI or ALPMA, please by all means follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. And please send all job applications to Ashurst Global Delivery Centre. Fantastic work, folks. Again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And to everyone, have a great evening or a good morning, depending on where you may be in the world. Thank you, folks. Bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Thanks.